country, sometimes engaging in child pornography or pedophilia or drug taking.
Authorities see Rabia as a threat to national security. The Australian government refused to renew her passport when it expired.
I got a letter from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade saying, we are the opinion of that you have connections with high-ranking officials of Jamaat Islamiyah, Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat and Al-Qaeda, and if you were to travel overseas, you would be involved in violent political activities, thereby causing the instability of, I don't know.
So more or less that she'll go out there, commit jihad in some country to overthrow a government, a legitimate government, like Hamid Karzai perhaps.
Rabia's two sons were also under scrutiny.
When my youngest son tried to go to school, ASIO was informed that he'd been to Pakistan, and every time he did something normal, like any 15-year-old, it was always, we know you've trained in Pakistan. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous.
They said, we want to further our Islamic studies, and there's nowhere here and there's no Arabic, so we'll go to Yemen.
And they did. They left for Yemen.
I doubt they went there to study English literature. What we know about people who go there to study is that it's a radical brand of Islam.
I just got a phone call one day and Rahma said, Mama, can you ring me? And she was crying. And I rang her back and she said the boys have been arrested. And then we found out that they were in a very notorious jail.
In October 2006, Rabia's sons, 19-year-old Mohammed and 21-year-old Abdullah, were imprisoned for allegedly smuggling weapons to Somalia for Al-Qaeda.
They weren't smuggling weapons, they had nothing to do with it, they were studying. Nobody was smuggling weapons to Somalia.
The thing is that in Yemen, to be a member of Al-Qaeda is not against the law anyway. And to sell arms is not against the law either.
Mohammed and Abdullah were released after 2 months and deported.
In the end, they were just let go. But everything was destroyed. They weren't allowed to stay. They had to leave. Where were they going to go? I told them, I don't care what it takes, do not come back here. They went to stay with my friend in Africa.
Rabia's son stayed in Nairobi with Raisa and her husband Omar for 3 months.
They'd been tortured in a Yemeni prison and couldn't come back to Australia because they know damn well once they hit Australian soil, you're going to lock them up. And I said, they've got nowhere to go, so I'm Auntie Rosalie.
But her husband Omar's suspected involvement with Somali terrorist organisation Al-Ittihad sparked the interest of intelligence authorities.
The fact that the two boys were deported from Yemen and went to Nairobi is an important staging area for Al-Qaeda, for the Ittihad. Again, we have enough pieces on the table to say that this probably is not a coincidence that they would end up there.
As a Muslim, we are loyal to one another to death. The fall down of the Taliban government was America said, hand over Osama, we'll leave you alone. And they said, in Islam, you never hand over a guest, ever, to non-believers. And so for me, I wouldn't dream of saying that. If they came back again and again and again, I would still take them, no matter what the price, so that's our duty.
From Nairobi, Rabia's sons went to Lebanon, where they joined radical Sydney cleric Sheikh Faiz, the man who'd introduced Raisa to polygamy.
That can ever be written.
You know, they went from there to Sheikh Faiz, but actually in Australia they were living with Sheikh Faiz. Well, he's in Lebanon because he can't be in Australia because they want to get him for incitement.
Rabia's sons remain in the Middle East. While she is trapped in Australia, her activities obstructed by authorities.
I think she would be of great interest to jihadi wannabes, just as a role model. She's a critical element because she's a source of inspiration.
People are afraid to visit me. ASIO visited this girl, this woman, absolutely and utterly terrorised the life out of her, and she was so paranoid that she hasn't spoken to me since.
The surveillance of Mrs. Hutchinson probably is something that seems very reasonable in the sense of protecting Australians at home. Certainly, I can't remember a person living in the United States, for example, who had so much exposure over so long a period to senior Al-Qaeda leaders.
There is hardly a week goes by in my life that when I go out into the street, I'm not told, go back from where you came from. What, they want me to move back to Mudgee? I don't want to live in Mudgee. We don't want you here. If they don't like it here, leave. Well, give me my passport and I will be out of here yesterday.
Raisa is now living in Kenya with her husband Omar, their 2 children. Her other 6 children are in Australia.
I feel very sad about leaving my kids in Australia. I feel tortured. I feel really like, I said to Omar, I wish I could just cut myself into 2 pieces.
Though Raisa and Omar have moved continents, they haven't escaped the past.
You know, we live under a microscope. There's not much we get away with. So, you know, what the hell? They know when we have a shower, what we eat, where we buy it, etc. I think ultimately Omar and I will end up living in Somalia. Ultimately, people would like to see a return of Omar to the forefront in Somalia. And I would be there beside him all the way.
They think that it's special. It's a sense of specialness that once they fall within that group, and it's very hard then to go back almost to your life of insignificance.
Rabia Hutchinson has no choice. Her past has robbed her of a future.
I just have to keep reminding myself that I am a 54-year-old grandmother that is in a country that I don't want to be in, separated from my children.
Rabia is now a prisoner in the country of her birth.
I would defend Islam with my life, so that makes me a filthy, dirty, subhuman terrorist that deserves anything that anybody and everybody wants to do to them. But at the end of the day, it doesn't deter me from my faith, and it only makes me stronger.